I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are continuing in the Gospels. We are right at the end of Christ's life. This is after the triumphal entry, but before the Passover, a day or two before the Passover. And so we're right near the end. He's been contending with the Jewish leaders again, gave a number of parables, so that's where we're at. This video we will be reading in all three of the Synoptic Gospels again. So again, we'll go in order: Matthew, Mark, and then Luke. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. And what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Matthew chapter 22, verses 15 to 22. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk. And they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Master, we know that thou art true, and teachest the way of God in truth. Neither carest thou for any man, for thou regardest not the person of men. Tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar, or not? But Jesus perceived their wickedness, and said, Why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? Shew me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. And he saith unto them, Whose is this image and superscription? They say unto him, Caesar's. Then saith he unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. When they had heard these words, they marveled, and left him, and went their way. The Pharisees here, and we have the Herodians again. These are a political faction, because the Herodian family is Herod the Great was the king of all of the Israelite area, and now his sons and grandsons are the tetrarchs of Galilee and Judea and all this stuff. So this is more of a political faction than a religious faction, but they're all together. And they're trying to find a way to trip up Christ in his words, because if they can get him to say the wrong thing, they can arrest him without fear of the people rising up in revolt. So they ask him this question. We know you are true. They kind of set him up. We know you're true. We know you speak the truth of God. And then they ask him the question, is it proper to pay tribute to Caesar? The purpose here, what they're trying to do is, if he says, no, it's not, we're of Israel, we don't submit to earthly kingdoms, we worship only God, so you don't pay, that would be treason against Rome, and he could be arrested for that. But if he says, yes, you pay tribute to Rome because Rome is the power, then they can say, oh, that's blasphemy, you're putting Rome over God. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to trap him in this way, but his answer is so good that they can't go against it, because he doesn't tell them to focus only on God or only on Rome. So he's not guilty of treason, and he's not guilty of blasphemy, because he's saying, worship God the way God is supposed to be worshipped, but in doing so, give all due respect and deference to the civil power. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's, and we're all good. So he's not doing either one, and that's why they are marveling, because they tried to set this trap, and Christ isn't having it. He said, you guys, you're trying so desperately to trick me, to trip me up. You're not going to get it. It's actually rather, Christ is brilliant in this. This is one of Christ's greatest brilliances. I mean, he's the greatest teacher in the world. He's God. You can't get better. But this is where his brilliance really shines more than most anywhere else. But let us look at the Joseph Smith translation. In verse 15, entangle him in talk. We take out the word his. In verse 16, we take out the word man. Neither carest thou for any. And then in verse 18, it's now, but Jesus perceived their wickedness and said, Ye hypocrites, why tempt ye me? So it just changes the position of the ye hypocrites. In verse 20, we now have, he said unto them, Whose image is this? And superscription. In verse 21, say is said, saith is said, and at the end, that are God's is corrected, to which are God's. And in verse 22, it now is, and when they had heard him say these words. Minor grammatical corrections, nothing really important in there. So now, we turn to Mark. Mark chapter 12, verses 13 through 17. And they send unto him certain of the Pharisees and of the Herodians to catch him in his words. And when they were come, they said unto him, Master, we know that thou art true, and carest for no man. For thou regardest not the person of men, but teachest the way of God in truth. Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar, or not? Shall we give, or shall we not give? But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Bring me a penny, that I may see it. And they brought it, and he saith unto them, Whose is this image and superscription? And they said unto him, Caesar's. And Jesus answering said unto them, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him. Slightly different wording, but basically the exact same thing. Mark is just recording the same thing as Matthew, or Mark likely recorded it first and then Matthew. But same thing. There's no real difference here. We still have the Pharisees and the Herodians. They're trying to trip him in his words. We get the same trap being laid. Christ gives the same answer. The only difference here is that Christ is not stating that they are hypocrites, but rather Mark is calling them hypocrites in his commentary. But, I mean, nothing is significant. So let us look at the Joseph Smith translation. In verse 13, send is now sent. They sent unto him certain. In verse 14, say is changed to said. In verse 16, it says, And they brought the penny, and he said unto them, Whose image and superscription is this? And then in 17, render to Caesar the things which are Caesar's. Although it doesn't change the second that to which is a little odd. And then at the end, and they marveled at it instead of at him. Minor grammatical corrections and a little bit of clarification, but nothing significant. So now we look at Luke chapter 20, verses 20 through 26. And they watched him, and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, Master, we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, neither acceptest thou the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar, or no? But he perceived their craftiness, and said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Shew me a penny. Whose image and superscription hath it? They answered and said, Caesar's. And he said unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God's. And they could not take hold of his words before the people, and they marveled at his answer, and held their peace. There is one small difference here, one clarification that Luke offers us, and that is that the men coming to ask the question, we kind of understood they were sent by the Pharisees. They're not being honest in their questioning. But he states directly that they are come pretending to be disciples of Christ. They're not coming as being, they're sent by the Pharisees, but they're not stating they're sent by the Pharisees. They're coming as if they were his disciples, as if they were just men, and just asking a question. And Christ perceives their hypocrisy, that they are not who they are claiming to be. That's why he's calling them hypocrites, is that they are claiming to be his disciples, but they are really spies sent by the Pharisees. That is a nice clarification. But other than that, it's all the same. So we turn to the Joseph Smith translation and see what we have here. In verse 20, it says, Which should feign themselves, corrected to who should feign themselves. And then a little later, instead of that so they might deliver him, it is that so doing they might deliver him. That was very awkward wording in the King James. Again, it says that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him. Very awkward wording, very bad grammar. But by adding in that word doing, it fixes it all. That they might take hold of his words, that so doing they might deliver him. So it just makes things work so much better. Now in verse 21, instead of neither acceptest thou, it is neither regardest thou, which I believe was the wording in Matthew and Mark, and that's all. Now the addition of that word doing does fix that one verse very nicely, but there's no real difference in meaning. So we leave it here, and again we will be continuing in combined videos for a number of videos. So I will see you there next.